Some killers operate in the shadows. Unknown. Undetected. Peter Lundin was not that kind of killer. He killed his own mother at 19 years old. Was convicted. Sentenced. Served his time. Was released. Was deported back to Denmark. And then he killed again. 3 more people. A woman and her 2 young sons. Dismembered. Never found. This is not a story about an unsolved mystery. Peter Lundin is behind bars, serving a life sentence in Denmark. The case is closed. What it is a story about a system that knew exactly what Peter Lundin was. And let him walk free anyway. This is Peter Lundin. Denmark's most disturbing killer. Peter Kenneth Bostrom Lundin was born on February 15, 1972, in Solrød Strand, Denmark, a quiet coastal town south of Copenhagen. His father, Ole Lundin, was a bricklayer. His mother, Anna, was a German-born woman who had met Ole while he was stationed in West Germany during his military service. By most accounts, it was not a happy home. When Peter was 7 years old, the family emigrated to the United States. They settled in Florida, running a small motel in Ormond Beach. Then they moved again, to Maggie Valley, North Carolina, a small mountain town deep in the Appalachians. It was not a stable upbringing. Ole and Anna's relationship was volatile. The family drifted, Los Angeles, New York, Boston, Miami, before eventually returning to Maggie Valley. By his teens, Peter had dropped out of school. He worked alongside his father as a bricklayer. He was introduced to cocaine and marijuana. He sold cannabis to classmates. The warning signs were there. But nobody was watching closely enough. On April 1, 1991, Peter Lundin was 19 years old. He and his mother got into an argument. It is believed the argument started over something trivial. Anna wanted to cut Peter's long hair. Peter strangled her to death. He and his father, then wrapped Anna's body in a blue blanket, covered it in black plastic, drove to Buxton on the North Carolina coast, and buried her in the sand at Cape Hatteras National Seashore. Then they fled to Canada. 8 months later, on November 1, 1991, a woman's body washed ashore near the Cape Hatteras lighthouse. Still wrapped in the blue blanket. Still covered in black plastic. It was Anna Lundin. Peter and Ole were arrested on June 6, 1992, found together in a hotel room in Toronto, Canada. In 1993, Peter Lundin was sentenced to 20 years in prison for the murder of his mother. His father, Ole, received 2 years as an accomplice. Let that sit for a moment. A father helped his son murder and bury his own wife. And received 2 years. While serving his sentence at Brown Creek Correctional Institution in North Carolina, something remarkable happened. A Danish television crew from TV2 came to interview him. They were filming a documentary called The American Dream, a program about young Danes who had emigrated to the United States. By chance, a producer had come across a newspaper clipping about a Danish man convicted of killing his mother in America. They requested an interview. Lundin agreed. The footage that resulted was deeply unsettling. Lundin appeared on camera with his face painted half black, quoting a poem about the light and dark sides of life. He showed no remorse. No grief. No recognition of what he had taken. The documentary aired in Denmark in 1994. The public was disturbed. But Lundin was behind bars, thousands of miles away in a North Carolina prison. He wouldn't be their problem. Or so they thought. Peter Lundin's 20-year sentence was reduced on appeal to 15 years. With early release due to prison overcrowding, he served approximately 8 years total. On June 4, 1999, Peter Lundin landed at Copenhagen Airport. He was escorted by 4 U.S. police officers and handed over to Danish authorities. Interpol had formally notified the Copenhagen police in advance. The message was clear: a convicted murderer, a man who had strangled his own mother and fled the country with his father, was being deported back to Denmark. The Danish police response was routine. Because Lundin had no outstanding warrants in Denmark, he was classified as a normal Danish citizen. No monitoring. No supervision. No follow-up. He walked out of Copenhagen airport a free man. This decision would later ignite a political firestorm in the Danish parliament. An MP formally demanded answers from the Minister of Justice. Why was this man not monitored? How did this happen? The minister's response was bureaucratic, procedural, unsatisfying. But by the time those questions were being asked, it was already too late. After arriving in Denmark, Lundin moved in with a woman named Tina, whom he had married in 1996 while still serving his sentence in North Carolina. That arrangement didn't last long. In the autumn of 1999, Lundin attacked Tina and her teenage daughter. She threw him out. He moved into a men's shelter in Rødovre, Copenhagen. It was there, homeless, violent, and with nowhere to go, that Peter Lundin met Marianne Pedersen. Marianne was 36 years old. A widow. An early retiree who had fallen into difficult circumstances and worked at a massage parlor on Fazanvej in Copenhagen. She had 2 sons. Dennis was 12. Brian was 10. By early 2000, Lundin had moved into Marianne's home in Rødovre, a quiet Copenhagen suburb of ordinary streets and ordinary houses. Neighbors noticed nothing unusual. Marianne seemed content enough. The boys went to school. Nobody knew that a convicted killer was living in that house. On the night of June 16 to 17, 2000. Something snapped. Lundin would later claim he heard Marianne speaking sweetly to another man on the telephone. He became convinced she was having an affair. What happened next lasted through the night. Lundin killed Marianne first. Then her sons, who, according to court testimony, tried to defend their mother. They jumped on Lundin's back. They bit him. Dennis was 12 years old. Brian was 10. All 3 had their necks broken. What followed was methodical, calculated, and deeply disturbing. Lundin dismembered all 3 bodies. Marianne in the basement. Her sons in the garage. He placed the remains in plastic bags. He drove around the Copenhagen area, disposing of bags in public waste containers across the city. Smaller pieces went further afield. He cleaned the house. Scrubbed the basement. Scrubbed the garage. When Marianne and her sons were reported missing on July 3, 2000, police initially went to the house and spoke to Lundin. He told them Marianne had taken the boys on holiday. That he was there to paint the house while they were away. Police left. 2 days later, they came back. This time, they found blood traces in Marianne's car. They found blood in the basement. Lundin was arrested on July 5, 2000. What investigators found when they examined that house properly was something they would not forget. Deputy Chief Inspector Niels Kjaller told the press directly, the basement and the garage looked like slaughterhouses, even after Lundin had spent days trying to clean them. There were approximately 100 visible cutting marks on the garage floor. An angle grinder had been used. Authorities launched a massive search. 10,000 metric tons of refuse were examined at a Copenhagen incineration facility. The entire Vestvolden, a large forested earthwork west of Copenhagen, was searched with the help of the Danish Emergency Management Agency. Marianne Pedersen and her sons Dennis and Brian have never been found. In custody, Peter Lundin went through multiple versions of events, each one more grotesque than the last. First, he knew nothing. Marianne and the boys were on holiday. Then, he had come home to find Marianne had killed her own sons. He found her unconscious, struck her, and panicked. He dismembered the bodies to hide what had happened, because who would believe a convicted killer? Then, on October 10, 2000, he changed his story a final time. He admitted everything. He had killed Marianne because she had been talking to another man. Her sons tried to stop him. He killed them too. He said it as though he were describing a minor inconvenience. On March 15, 2001, Peter Lundin was convicted of triple murder and sentenced to life imprisonment, the maximum penalty available under Danish law. His lawyer had argued it was an accident. The jury disagreed. Lundin himself asked for his sentence to be capped at 16 years. It was not. Peter Lundin is currently serving his life sentence at Storstrøm State Prison, a high-security facility on the Danish island of Falster, reserved for Denmark's most dangerous inmates. He has changed his name twice since his conviction. First to Bjarne Schaumborg. Then to Thomas Christian Olesen. In 2025, he was violently attacked by another inmate in the prison yard, struck repeatedly on the head with a metal barbecue ignition tool. He survived. He is still there. He will likely die there. But the questions this case raised have never fully gone away. A man convicted of killing his own mother. Released early. Deported to a country that knew exactly who he was. Given no supervision. No monitoring. No follow-up. And within 14 months of stepping off that plane, 3 more people were dead. Marianne Pedersen was 36 years old. Dennis was 12. Brian was 10. Their bodies have never been recovered. They have no grave. No resting place. No marker. That is Peter Lundin's final act of cruelty, that even now, more than 2 decades later, the people who loved Marianne, Dennis, and Brian have nowhere to go. If this case stayed with you, it should. Subscribe for more stories like this one. And leave a comment below. Do you think the Danish authorities bear responsibility for what happened after Lundin was deported? I'll see you in the next one.